So we've got the chassis pretty much built here now, and I'm going to highlight a couple of things here while we do an overview of what's going on with the chassis set. As you can see, we've got the flat skid on the bottom. The flat skid is just great for keeping your ground clearance. When we put our transfer case in here, we'll still have lots of room for the interior, and of course there's just tons of room underneath there now. But when we're going to use this full interior hard body here on the truck for our class 1, we want to keep the body nice and low to the frame, and with the flat skid there's just not going to be enough room in there for our 2-speed transfer case. So we're going to use the flat skid with our 1-to-1 transfer case from GCM Racing, and we're going to use the drop skid on the class 2 with the 2-speed transfer case, and then we're all set and we can keep the full interior pan in the Jeep. Now you see the setup here, we've got the motor already ready to go. This whole drive line is motorized and ready to go. We can add the center drive shafts on here, and away we go. The K44s are in. Obviously we've got no shocks on it, but I wanted you to be able to see the suspension setup here. So we've got our fancy new bracket here, and this stuff fits right into the frame. I mean, this whole project was designed to work together. This isn't a collaboration of a bunch of random aftermarket parts and then you wonder what the fitment is going to be. We've got a fully designed competition ready setup here, and with the K44s we've got both axles right now sitting flat, full compression, right to the frame on the front and back. The skid plate is actually not touching the ground yet. So I mean, you can't really see that in the video, but the way this thing is sitting, there's still actually room underneath the transfer case area. So lots of ground clearance on this. Obviously you're going to spring the truck, so the thing is going to have some kind of ride height to it, and you're going to have a center skid clearance that's no issue there at all, even if you use the drop skid. So let's have a look at what this looks like up front. See if I can bring this right in here close to you. You can have a look at the K44 setup here. Gives you an idea of the suspension movement here. One of the reasons why we left the shocks off, to show you all this stuff, so you can see this move real easy. There's tons and tons of room in there for the servo mount, for the steering. I'll turn this sideways here so you can see the steering clearance between the servo and the suspension. I mean, you can see where the servo is going to sit right up on top. It's top mounted. You got lots and lots of room for the suspension travel on the steering arms, and all the testing we've done, there's just gobs of room for the linkage in there. We'll show you that on the truck as we keep going. You can see the center dual servo mount there too. So there's an offset steering mount that follows the panhard bar there, you can see. And then we've got the centered front mount. You can use that for a radio tray plate, for a battery mount, for whatever you want if you want to put your winch on the bumper. And you see that we got the full motor and transmission in the vehicle already. The complete motor and transmission is already mounted in. And look at the side room here. Look at the amount of room through this side. With a very small amount of creativity, which I mean by flat battery tray, you can have a battery mount right here, all beside the motor. This is more than an inch wide, so you can put in one of those shorty packs or whatever in there and have it accessed from an opening hood. Lots and lots and lots of room in here. Let's have a look at the driveline angles while we're over here. You see where the spur gear is up here? Spur gear and the output shaft right there. That's going to run straight to our transfer case. And then we've got the front and rear axle drives in line with the transfer case outputs. Like I said, this setup was designed to work. So, the rear link mounts, very simple on the rear. I mean, this is a typical double Y suspension link setup. We've 4-linked it in the back. So the center links mounted onto the lower skid plate right here. And then of course the top links are mounted to the frame. All kinds of travel articulation you could want. Now I want to highlight the shock towers on the J2 build because there's something unique going on here, and this is a great opportunity to show it off. You see on the outside of the rail here, There's only 2 bolts. With 2 bolts on the outside of the rail, it keeps the thing nice and clean. When you want to bolt an inner fender on here or whatever, there's a perfect opportunity for you to do that because there's 2 screw holes right here on the outsides of this shock tower mount, right down here by the rail. You can use those to mount on an inner fender plate that matches with your body profile, and then all you have visible is a nice clean frame with these 2 tiny little button head screws. But as you can see from the inside of the shock tower, the inside of the shock tower plate has all these screw holes already threaded all the way in and all the way along. So with the 2 screws outside, you can reposition the tower plate all over the place. 3 different positions. 3 different positions here. And you only see the 2 screws on the outside ever. So in our situation, we're going to use this middle hole here for our shock mount. And what we've done with that is actually put a screw in from the inside towards the outside and then put a nut on it, so which is so much easier to set up your shocks. I mean, in our situation here, we're going to use the shock mounting on the lower link bracket right here, and we're going to run it up to this shock. So it's just so much easier to have all that stuff already exposed and ready to go. Out in the front, we've done exactly the same thing. We've managed to add, before the motor transmission motor plate went in, we added the screw in here with the nut on it. Whoops, wrecking the garage. And then as soon as we had the nut on there, of course, then we can add our shock on here and add another nut on the outside, and we're all done. It's a nice clean setup, easy for servicing. You don't have to bother taking screws in and out all the time to service the shocks. Just 1 nut on the outside and they're all done. So now we've got the frame all built up here basically. The only thing we think we're going to have left to do is put in the center driveline axles. We're going to add the transfer case in. We're going to add our servo in. We've already got our bumper hardware here lined up for our 2 bumper brackets for the front and rear. On this one, we're going to use the Rampage bumpers that match up with this hard body Jeep real well, and build ourselves a Class 1 Jeep rig. And as you can see by this simple setup, I'll drop the body on here and show you what's going on with that. This is a full hard body Jeep. The truck was basically, this chassis set was designed, the J2 chassis set was designed to work on this body exactly. It works for lots of other trucks. We're also going to show you a build using this on a Hilux or Mojave body set. We're going to show you a build on a Lexan lid. So I mean, there's lots of opportunities for this body. But the nice part about having a chassis that's designed for the truck, this J2 skeleton chassis has the exact rail length you need to bolt on a set of SCX style bumpers in the front and back. It's a real simple setup, and we're going to go ahead and finish this build and get some rims on it here and show you our fancy setup for this 2-door hardbody JK. And it's just beautiful. We're going to put some rims and tires on it to match and get the driveline done and turn this thing into a roller. Be right back.